I'm Aniston Nix, and today I'm making cornbread. Cornbread goes as far back to when the European settlers first came to the New World, when wheat was previously considered the main crop in Europe. They failed to grow wheat in the New World due to poor soil and diseased plants. In Plymouth Rock and Jamestown, the Native Americans introduced the settlers to corn and taught them how to grow it and cook it. They found success in growing corn, and it became an important food source in their daily diet. The recipe of cornbread became a mainstay in the new settlements and then continued to the broader American colonies that came after them. Throughout the 18th century, the colonies had expanded throughout the East Coast as the Europeans continued to the Americas, and they were eventually able to grow wheat in the mid-Atlantic colonies, but cornbread continued to be a popular alternative to the Europeans because most of the wheat they grew was sent back to Great Britain. Due to the scarcity of wheat bread was only used for special occasions, leaving cornbread to be used in everyday cooking and meals. By the 18th century, colonists would add ingredients like molasses, butter, and milk to improve the taste. During the Revolutionary War, cornbread was a main way of feeding the troops because it was cheap, easy to transport, and had calories. Throughout the American colonies into the 19th century, enslaved Americans were given meager rations to cook with, such as leftover greens, animal parts, molasses, and grains like rice and cornmeal. Due to that, cornmeal became an essential to the survival of these individuals. They would either cook them on a iron pan or in the form of frying them over a fire. Even during the Civil War, cornbread fed the soldiers then as well. Post-Civil War and throughout the late 19th and early 20th centuries, freed slaves and their descendants migrated to the northern states, and many opened their own businesses, continuing to adapt to the cornbread based on the available resources. Cornmeal was used in a variety of ways, such as corn pone, griddle cakes, spoon bread, corn muffins, hoe cakes, and hush puppies, many familiar to us today. Such ingredients such as eggs and buttermilk in the cornbread recipes, products which would have been reserved for special occasions or the wealthy in the past. Modern cornbread today is either from a recipe book passed down through generations or commonly seen as a box of Jiffy cornbread mix in the store. The recipe that I'm using today to make this cornbread is from 1796 from Amelia Simmons. This recipe calls for 1 cup of milk, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 tablespoon of molasses, 1 pinch of salt, 3 cups of cornmeal, and half a cup of wheat flour. But instead of using wheat flour, I'm replacing that with regular flour. First, I'm going to put this cup of milk in a saucepan over low heat. Now I've added the molasses, the butter, and the salt to the pan with the milk. Now I've added the cornmeal and the flour into a mixing bowl in a separate bowl. Now I've added the milk and the molasses and the salt mixture into the cornmeal and flour mixture. I've now placed it in the pan that I'm going to cook it in. I'll cook this on 375 for 30 minutes. I chose this recipe because I've always grown up eating cornbread as a side with meals, like just at dinner or even on Thanksgiving, but I never really knew where it came from and how it came about. What I found interesting about making this recipe was it wasn't really there wasn't much liquid in it like normal, like when you make the Jiffy box cornbread. I wouldn't say it was difficult to find the ingredients for this recipe, but I did substitute wheat flour for regular flour. All I had to do today was put it in the oven and cook the cornbread, but back then in the colonial times they had to cook it over an open fire, and I'm sure that was difficult. For my history over cornbread, I got the information from ProfessorTorbitts.com, but my recipe I found on SavoringThePast.com. Okay, it's been 30 minutes and I finally took the cornbread out of the oven. As you can see, it did not turn out looking great, but let's try it. Okay, I just tried it and I did not like the way it tasted. It wasn't like normal cornbread. It was very dry and just not good at all, but it probably didn't come out right. I do not think it would be enjoyed by people today. It was not good, not like normal cornbread. The way it's sweet, it was just very bitter. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked it.